Newsweek poll. I know you love your polls.
Is it the Virginia poll?
This is the. I don't know if it's a Virginia. This is the new forecast for the 270 to win one.
We had a separate poll. We can get into that in a minute.
Okay. Well, this one, yeah, we'll talk about them both.
Yeah, I'll pull that
So in this one, it says, according to election forecasters 270 to win, Trump is currently leading in the national polls on average by just under 2 points, which it seems fair. That seems like what I heard based on the last 8 surveys. Meanwhile, according to polling aggregator 538, Republican is ahead of his Democratic rival by 1.5% as of May 24th. This is the largest lead the former president has had since April 2nd. I don't think
it's the largest lead he's had in any polling period.
Yes. Okay. I don't think he's ever led.
2016.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think
exactly.
he's ever led.
He was maybe like under 1 point ahead a couple times in 2016, and that's the best that he could do. In 2020, he literally never led in the aggregate. Now we've got a new poll from Virginia, and here, let me
send it over.
I'll link you the Real Clear polling over here on StreamYard.
Got it.
Yes, indeed. Donald Trump tied with Joe Biden, according to a new Roanoke College poll that ended on the 21st. That's in Virginia.
What's interesting is the
Virginia really shouldn't be in play.
Oh, right. Yes, correct. So being tied is actually representing a pretty big gain.
Yes. Virginia should be leaning fairly heavily blue, but it's not. It's basically a zero-sum game. I mean, if Biden loses Virginia, he can't win. There aren't enough electoral votes in enough fortified states.
If he lost
Virginia, this is the only recent poll.
And what is the VCU and RTD Mason-Dixon? These are polls from back in December, right?
Looks like Mason-Dixon is a newspaper. I don't know what I believe that VCU is a university, but Roanoke. I do know that Roanoke is a good polling firm.
So Roanoke's got it at a tie, and then RCP averages all of their data, still has Biden up 3, but this is just for Virginia.
But there's only one recent poll. The other one ended in January, and Biden was running ahead of where he is currently in polling.
Yeah, I guess you could argue if you had polled Trump in March and April, he'd probably be ahead.
We desperately need more polling from states that are generally considered non-competitive. I would say there are 4 of them. On the lean blue side: Virginia, New Hampshire, Maine, and Minnesota. They desperately need more polling from all 4 of them.
Yeah, Minnesota is an interesting one. As I've said, give me one of the 3. He's not going to get Illinois, obviously, but give me Michigan. No. Give me Michigan, Minnesota, or Wisconsin. And that, I think, is an extraordinarily likely scenario.
Yeah.
Even 2 out of 3 could happen.
He's at this point, he's virtually guaranteed North Carolina and Georgia. That gets him into the 230 zone or 235 or thereabouts. Arizona leans heavily towards him, but we know Maricopa County exists, so we're going to assume that goes for Joe Biden.
Yep.
Nevada leans heavily towards him. Nevada is not fully fortified. That gets him to about 240. Well, I mean, he only needs one more big pickup. He's got like 5 of them that he can choose from, and several other smaller states that he could potentially pick off. I think that Donald Trump is very likely to win re-election. I don't think that this lawfare matters at all. I don't think it stops him.
Yeah, I mean, I think as we get closer to, like, I can't imagine his polling numbers going down after the debate.
Yeah.
I can't imagine his polling numbers.
That'll be a debacle.
Right. Like the debate will be a fortifying effort for him. I still stand by my strategy, or what I think is more likely to lead Donald Trump to his 270 is not necessarily new people voting for Donald Trump. It's just people no longer voting for Joe Biden. And if you look at a state like Michigan in Dearborn, right? These people aren't going to go vote for Trump, but they're not going to vote for Biden again. If you go,
yes, you're exactly right. It's the Dearborn, Michigan Muslim vote that have been told to stand down effectively by Rashida Tlaib and others, literally commanding them not to vote for Biden. How helpful is that, by the way, in the re-election bid?
Well,
the Democrats,
she's never going to lose her spot.
The Democrats are going to absolutely go ape shit on the far left if they lose this election. They are going to pound them like a goddamn atomic bomb. Well, they're going to kick, and then they'll lose for a generation. They're going to kick them out of the coalition. Their umbrella will shrink. But there's one other group of people, actually.
Somalis.
And no, not an ethnic bloc. Union Dems. Union Dems that had crossed the line to vote for Trump.
Yeah.
And then they became disaffected, mainly because of furloughs, because of lockdownerism. But now lockdownerism is a distant memory, but Bidenflation is a recent memory. Yeah. And I think that a lot of them flock back to Donald Trump, and they realize that they were wrong. And between these two forces, I favor Trump to win Michigan. That's the election.
Yeah, Michigan would be
without
enough.
Michigan, Biden can't do it.
I don't know how Muslim Minnesota is, but it's definitely getting more. And
Minneapolis, St. Paul, I think maybe 100,000, 200,000 or something.
But I mean, that's enough, right? They voted for Biden.
Yeah, but I mean, even that's looking in play.
That's what I'm saying. Minnesota. I mean, 100,000 people.
Can anybody under 60 remember when Minnesota was a swing state?
I mean, Wisconsin is a swing state. It was red in 2016, blue in 2020. It's very likely to go back red again. The Midwest has been getting ass blasted by inflation and immigration. And I like normies are talking about immigration in the Midwest.
May I address briefly a chat?
Yeah.
Conspiracy 1621 Styx. The unions blamed governors for the lockdowns, not Trump. That is true, actually, but some union members blame Trump. Partially because of the DeSantis momentum. DeSantis tried to claim that Trump had locked the nation down and stuff like that.
Yeah, the Lulberts still say that.
God, they've got bigger problems right now. Just Chase Oliver.
Yeah, Chase Oliver is perhaps as bad as it gets for the Lulbertarians.
He'll get more votes than Jorgensen, at least.
Well, and that's another thing that's in play too. I think we talked about this. Like any conservative-leaning libertarian is either going to abstain or vote for Trump now. Like if they're like your run-of-the-mill libertarian, they're going to vote for this Chase guy. They also voted for Joe Jorgensen too, and they voted. You know what I mean? Like I think Trump squeezes a few more.
At least Johnson, until he forgot where Aleppo was, at least he was kind of sane. Yeah.
So I think poll data, while we both know, and you know better than I do, poll data is directional at best.
It's about the velocity. It's not about the real number. It's about if you get that scatter shot, you can look at a trend line or something like that. The real problem with the polling firms, though, is they never give us enough polls from the right places.
Well,
we've got plenty of polling from Arizona, but we have almost nothing from Virginia. This is the only recent poll. I want like 5 more,
When you see this, how would you describe it? So based on the velocity, right?
It's impossible to judge
because
all of them are within the same margin. I can't judge velocity. I just say that it's more likely than not that Biden has lost a lot of support in Virginia and that things are roughly close to tied. Which, by the way, is damning for the Biden campaign.
Well, my question to you, who knows more about this, as a layman, I'm looking at this. It looks like Biden lost 7 points from 49 to 42. Trump
depends on the polling methodology.
Okay, so you can't draw that conclusion then?
No, you can't.
Okay, all right. Well, that's fair.
By the way, just a sec here. Yeah, there's a bigger differential too. So undecided voters have increased in size.
That's what I was trying to guess too. So there's more people on the fence now because you only have 88% represented here versus 92% represented here.
Yeah.
So you've got a new chunk of undecideds potentially.
But it's within the margin of error. So, I mean, the only meaningful thing that we can say is that with reasonable confidence, Donald Trump has probably gained ground in Virginia. That's pretty much the best thing we can say.
Now, if we look at Wisconsin, he's up.
Yeah, barely, but he is up.
And if you look, they're polling every week here, or every 2 weeks in Wisconsin. So, it's basically April. Yeah, it's every week in Wisconsin. Trump holds. Here's what I think in general. Do you think this is a crazy assumption to make? I would say that Trump is always polling better than the polls will show, and Biden's always polling worse.
Historically, in past elections,
he is
2016
better.
and 2020, yes, he outperformed the polling. If he were to outperform by the same metric that he did in 2020 or in 2016, the election would be his.
He'd have 300 electorals. He would dominate.
Assuming there's a similar outperformance, he has won. He will win. But we can't assume that. My assumption is it might actually be more of an outperformance, though. And that's because some of these polling firms that are aggregated here, Rasmussen is one, Quinnipiac is one.
Yeah.
There are a couple of others, and they're in the aggregate. What they do is they look at the turnout and the differential in the last election, and then they adjust their new numbers based on perceived turnout. Well, if you look at the 2020 election, supposedly Joe Biden had huge turnout. Oh, people were turning out in droves for him, 82 million votes, 10,000 scoops of ice cream. If they really are applying that metric to the 2024 polling, they're going to be woefully wrong.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how many ballot printers they have. It's not going to be enough.
What do you make of their data in Pennsylvania? Trump is ahead and has been ahead nonstop. Hasn't been behind even in one polling.
Yep. He's probably won Pennsylvania. Again,
and isn't Pennsylvania enough to win?
Probably the election. No.
He needs two, right? Pennsylvania and one of the
He needs two of the bigger
five
states, or he needs one of the big states and a couple of the intermediate states or something like that. I think that he probably wins. I think there's an 85-90% chance that Trump gets reelected.
Yeah,
the confidence interval for me is much higher than it was in 2020. I mean, he won that one too, but technically, sort of, he didn't.
They also have him up bigly in Arizona.
I think he's most likely to lose Arizona because of Maricopa County existing.
Maricopa County,
they haven't defortified. Yeah.
They're shenanigans. Nevada, they have him up by 5 points.
He probably wins Nevada.
Wisconsin, they have him as even. That's probably true. Wisconsin will come down to the.
That'll be difficult.
He's got to come here. He's got to do what Hillary didn't. He's got to be. He's got to come to. He's gonna come. They said that when Hillary lost Wisconsin in 2016, that was the number one criticism. Is that the Democrats hadn't lost Wisconsin in a million years, and Hillary Clinton never showed up, and Donald Trump pounded ass in Wisconsin. He was in 4 or 5 cities.
The problem for him in picking off some of the sensitive states is that he also has to be in court like every other fucking day.
Yeah.
Which is the whole point. That's the whole reason they're doing this.
He's got time, though.
I think he has an advantage in Wisconsin, but it's underwhelming. But he doesn't need it to win, so.
Yeah, he doesn't. He only needs one. If Pennsylvania locks in,
that gets him to 250. That gets him, close enough.
Are you including Georgia in that?
Georgia's not a swing state. Trump will win Georgia.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I don't consider North Carolina. Yeah, that's a competitive state. Look at those polls.
They crushing.
Still pretend. Yeah, they still pretend like that state is on the line. I don't think so.
Yeah, Pennsylvania is one. If he gets Pennsylvania, that's a crusher. That's 18, right? 18 electorals for Pennsylvania?
Yeah, but North Carolina and Georgia being his, he's in the upper 230s, I think. And then with Pennsylvania, he's really, really close to the margin. He only needs one other state. What's
interesting here is you go this day in history. In the 2020 election, at this exact same point, Biden was plus 6.7. So
Clinton
4 years later,
plus
Trump's
5.3.
Yeah, Biden was up even bigger than Clinton. If you look at, Wisconsin, Biden was up 2.7. Now Trump has eaten into his lead in nearly every state.